Hello, Laura. How are you?
There, I'm doing well.
Good. I'm so glad to see you, and I'm so glad that you have time to chat with me. It's always exciting to get to know people a little bit better. Um, if anyone's joining us for the first time, I am Melissa MacLeod here at the Will and the Floss in Grosse Pointe, Michigan, just outside of Detroit. And I have the pleasure of speaking with LauraLove today. Laura, I should have reminded you of this and I forgot to. We're now on an audio podcast too. So if there's anything that we are showing, and I don't know if there will be, but I was trying to remember to talk through things so that the audio only people can know what we're talking about. So yeah, so today Laura's here with me, and I say LauraLove, and that's your design line name, but your real life name is Laura Hoffman, correct?
Correct. Yes.
And I've never asked you that. I kind of have an idea of where LauraLove Designs, where the name comes from, but why don't you tell us about that since we're there? Why not?
Yeah. So Laura Love is the nickname that mom and dad and grandma, kind of everyone called me when I was a little kid. And still comes out every once in a while for mom and dad, but my grandma, my dad's mother, still called me that. Forever, kind of, it was just her, what she called me. And so when it came time to choosing, what do I call my design line? It was like, well, Laura Love, I guess. We'll go there. It sounded sweet and something.
It is very sweet. I love it. And I actually thought that maybe and so we're going to get back to what I think, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. I'm going to make myself a note. So let's back up, because what I was going to say doesn't make any sense if people don't know the background of some of your background. So where are you right now?
I am at home, but home is in London, England.
Nice. And see, if
Away.
you're from Detroit, people say Ontario or England, because we have a London, Ontario, which is nothing compared to, sorry for Ontario people, nothing compared to the real London. So that's exciting. And how long have you lived there?
I moved to London in 2018. That's my continuous living here. I did my master's program here before that, so kind of
Oh,
full times here. But yeah, so 2018, that's what, 6 years?
yeah.
Something like that.
So let's back up. Where were you born? Where's original home for you?
Tulsa, Oklahoma is home,
Okay.
where born, raised, yeah, was there forever.
Okay. And then did you go to undergrad in the States?
I did the University of Oklahoma.
Okay.
So more studying or more staying there, I guess.
And what
And
what was your education focus in undergrad?
I did international area studies, so kind of a general international relations type program with minors in Arabic and Mandarin. So trying to
Really?
do, yeah.
This is what I love about these podcasts. Like, I've known you for a while. I had no idea that you spoke Arabic or Mandarin. That's amazing. Now you're living in some place you just needed to know the English tongue again, which is kind of funny, actually.
Yeah, well,
That's
um,
fantastic. And so did
mum's
you,
happy. It's easier to visit.
oh, of course. Did you work in between undergrad and your master's program, or did you go straight to your master's?
No, I took about 6 months and went and did an intensive Arabic program, and then worked for another. It was almost a year, I guess, doing in DC. So, well, between Tulsa and DC, I did two different internship things, and then I started the master's program. So it was about
Okay.
a year and a half between undergrad to grad school.
Okay. And what is your master's in?
Intelligence and international security studies.
So you
So went
seem very overqualified to be a needlepoint designer so far.
possibly, but you've got to have something creative in your life.
I agree. I agree. So I don't even know where to go first. Um, so where has this led? Okay, sorry. So where did you take your master's?
I did that at King's College London,
Okay.
and here in London, yeah.
And so was it one of your goals to go to school in London, or was that just where it had a really good program, or how did that have? evolve?
It was a really good program, and it was cheaper for me to move to London, pay rent, pay living expenses, tuition, everything, than go to the other program that was really good, which was at Georgetown.
Wow.
Financially, I looked at it and I went, "Bye, mom." And it was a no-brainer when you compare the cost of. It was just like I can't. So London it
Wow.
was.
That is so interesting. And so when did you graduate from that?
That was 2016, so right before Brexit.
Okay. So 2016, and then you said you've lived there since 2018. So what happened in between those years?
Well, Brexit happened, and all the employers got a bit scared of sponsoring visas. So, as an American, I have to have a visa to work here. And when that happened, everyone kind of went, "We don't really know what the rules are going to be. Are we suddenly going to have to sponsor every European that we have working for us?" So, the company that I was working with at the time had an office in Dallas, and they said, "Well, you can go there." So I went there, and eventually worked my way to my current company, who had an office in London, and said, "Yeah, okay, you can come to London." So eventually worked my way back, but there was an in between back in the US for a while.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, I can't think of two more different cities between London and Dallas. So that's kind of interesting.
It was a bit of a shock moving back. You'd think it would be somewhat normal coming from Tulsa, because Tulsa to Dallas, not
That's
that
true.
different.
Right.
But for some reason, it was a bit of a shock still.
Yeah. I actually have not spent a lot of time in Dallas. I've been there for a number of our Needlepoint shows, and I've actually really enjoyed it. But it just has a very different vibe than the time I've spent in London for sure. So
Yes.
okay, so now I'm still super curious about this day job, even though we're really here to talk about needlepoint, but I got to hear about the day job because this sounds a little fascinating to me.
So I work for a threat intelligence company. Threat intelligence software company. So we sell a software that companies can use to do cyber threat intelligence or a bunch of other things with it. Mainly cyber, but you can do more. And I've done a bunch of different roles within the company. I'm now on the training department, so I work to create certification courses that clients can take to learn more. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's a great company. I've been here now 7 years, so it's not one that I've gotten bored of or anything.
Right. Well, good. But somewhere along these lines, you must have, how did you end up with this? I don't even want to call it a side hustle because it feels like you have such a broad line that like how could you squeeze this into just like what we Americans would typically call a side hustle? So how tell us how that kind of all evolved.
So like many people, I'm a COVID designer, I guess, is that's where it came from. I had always painted little individual projects for mum, because my mother likes to stitch, and sometimes I felt she needed something, so I'd paint it for her. Bless her, because I didn't understand the concept of stitch painting at the time. So I was like, "Oh, here's a thing," and she just kind of okay, and made it work somehow. But eventually, I started making things of my own for her. So I thought, oh, she'd like me to needlepoint something for her as a gift, um, rather than her having to do all the work. And somewhere in there, just before COVID or during COVID, um, I made the Love You to the Moon and Back garland. So that was the very first one that is still part of my line. And had posted pictures, and she had shown pictures to her friends at the needlepoint shop where she goes. And some people said, "Oh, I want one." And it was a case of, you want this? Well, all right. So it slowly kind of turned into a few things there. And I tried to have an Etsy for a while and went, "This is a terrible idea," from the UK, trying to have an Etsy.
Right,
Um,
right.
and it really kind of took off with there was a new designer showcase that a needlepoint shop in Atlanta hosted. and they kind of brought together people that were in this COVID range and said, we're going to do a showcase of all your things.
Nice.
And so that's really where it kind of started from, and then just kept going.
Yeah. Because I think the first time I saw your things was one of the virtual needlepoint shows. Would that be possible? Was that your first like wholesale?
Yeah, I did do a virtual needlepoint show. So you may have seen it there, yes.
Yeah. So I think that was probably, well, you would know better. Would that have been the like June, maybe spring of 2020? Does that sound right?
Honestly, COVID is such a blur. That 2020, 2021 is such a blur, especially because London went into solid lockdown. So there were 3 months that I didn't leave the house, and I don't really know what happened. So I'm not quite sure when the virtual, I think they were in 2021.
Okay, that could be because we had the March. Yeah, that makes more sense because I think the March of 2020 got canceled at the last minute, and then I can't remember what happened that fall. Is that when there was the one in Dallas, or was that a year later?
No,
see, I can't remember.
It was a year later. So my first market was autumn 2022.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, and sorry, I've lost my train of thought because I have so many thoughts going on that I want to ask you. So you decided like, I'm going to try this Etsy thing, and that was maybe more challenging because you were probably spending all your time on logistics rather than actually designing.
Yes, a lot of time on logistics, a lot of time, trying to chase packages that who knows where they went, and sorry, they're customs, and also just, trying to figure out pricing because it costs so much to send something abroad. It really was like, this is not worth it. And also on top of it, taxes, dealing with taxes here, taxes in the US. It was like, this is just not, I can't do this.
So it sounds like you had a little family support and a creative solution to solving that problem. So tell us about
that. So my mother, bless her, with the first sort of Needlepoint new designer showcase, said, we'll send everything here and I'll send it to them. Get everything sent here and I'll send it. And it sort of turned into my things never left. And she has turned into logistics and marketing and shipping, and she does everything. So dad jokes, you moved out 10 years ago and yet you have more stuff here than you did.
I think that's very funny. And what is her background? I know you said you've told me previously that she's also a stitcher. Did she have any sort of business background, or is she just like rolling up her sleeves and I'll just figure this out because I'm going to help my daughter?
Yep, just rolling up her sleeves. So no business background. She's really good at organizing things. So she's volunteered for like summer literacy camps before, where she's been like the site kind of coordinator person that has to wrangle everything and everyone. So she's always been really good at that. And I think she really enjoys this because it gives her something to do and keep busy, and I let her organize. So it's not too much. Sometimes I'll just say, well, go for it. She appreciates that, I think.
Nice. And I know we currently have your trunk show, and I know my trunk show manager had said, oh, this came in and it was so well organized. It was so nice, because sometimes we receive trunk shows, and I think designers receive trunk shows back as well that aren't always in neat and tidy order, and that makes for a little bit of frustration. So gold star for Jill.
Perfect.
So let's back up. We did not talk about, so we talked about how you started painting. Have you always stitched? Give us the background of your stitching career.
So I was taught to cross stitch as a little kid, and then packed it away and didn't touch it, and didn't want to needlepoint, didn't want to do anything. I got roped into it with my mother and my grandmother, and it truly was. I got roped into it. My grandmother started needlepointing at some point, and she bought the whole Melissa Shirley nativity set, the two-sided ones that are really beautifully painted, the big ones. And I think she bought the whole set kind of at once. And then realized very quickly that she wasn't going to be able to finish these in her lifetime. And so she roped mum into it. And then they decided it needed to be a family thing. So they sort of said, you need to do one too. So I took it and I did one of the wise men and I said, never again. I hate this. This is stupid.
Oh,
Just sort of, here it is. I'm done. No more. And then that's when I started painting the things for mum instead, because I enjoy painting. And it's like, I don't want to stitch. This no, don't like it. But I decided she needed a little drummer boy because that's her favorite song. And then
Aw.
of course, needed that if it has elephants and camels and everything else in it. So I painted that for her. And then it slowly evolved into, as I said, like painting more things for her to stitch. And then somehow it turned into me stitching the things that I was giving her as well. And it just sort of eventually said, this isn't so bad. I don't mind this. And now I love it. So
I say now you have stitch guides for a lot of your pieces and you've written all those stitch guides. So clearly you've discovered your love of stitching even
yeah,
with all that background, which is pretty funny.
yeah. It's I was quitting stitcher, I guess.
So funny. So we talked a little bit earlier about you being at the Frisco market in the fall of 22. And I think that was shortly before a local needlepoint shop day. And you and your mom, you just mentioned, don't have necessarily a background in business, but yet you came up with a really clever marketing idea, and that's how we met. So, and I meant to grab it, so it was handy. I didn't. Sorry, it's right here. But you did a giveaway, or maybe we sold it. Maybe that's why I couldn't find it. Of a little 3x3 floral piece that you offer in 3 different sizes, I think. Is that right?
Yes, at the moment, although a few more coming at market. So
Oh, there we go. So I stopped in, and honestly, I was like, this is the gal that does all those garlands. Like, those garlands are really cute, but I'm probably gonna have a hard time selling those garlands. But I'll pop in just to like pick up this giveaway, which was very generous of you because you were offering them to all the stores that were going to be part of local needlepoint shop day as a giveaway to the consumer, of course. And that was absolutely brilliant of you because I walked in and thought all you had were garlands. And of course, I was very, very wrong. But that was an era where, because of COVID, as a shop owner, I was going by myself. So the shop owner stretched very thin if you don't have help to conquer market, so to speak. So yeah, that's how I first met you and walked in and saw all your beautiful botanicals and your cookie. I don't know if the cookies were out maybe then yet. Maybe the
yeah,
cookies were
I had
still
some
to come.
cookies out.
Okay. I can't remember the order of it all. But walked into like a room full of glorious things and met your mom, and it was fantastic. So let's talk about kind of the different areas of your line. Where did you start? I know you started with your garlands, and now you have like, I don't know, 12 or 14 different garlands, probably something
A
like
lot,
that.
yeah. Something. There's
And
a lot of them.
yes, then they're fantastic. So and that's kind of a more of an English based thing, at least the inspiration, I think. So tell us about that.
So that was honestly just looking around in the UK, everything's decorated with bunting, is what we call it here, is bunting. And it's just, you'll see it walking down a street and you'll just see bunting swags everywhere. And I went, that's a really cute. I'm going to needlepoint one. It's sort of the thought process there was I just want to make one. And that's kind of how most of my designs are. I was like, I want to do that. And then, of course, I don't have time to always stitch it. But the thought process is I want to do it myself someday.
Very nice.
But it started with the garlands because
Yes.
I liked them.
Yes. Well, and they are fabulous. I think I was a little gun shy as a shop owner because it's a big undertaking. But then again, you're the granddaughter of someone who bought double-sided nativity right off the bat. So that didn't put you off. And then I know when I was there and first met you in person. And did I put it behind me? Well, there's some botanicals behind me, but your mom was stitching the green version.
Yes,
A little
she
similar
did.
to this, not quite that one. And she was mid-stitch, and I was just like, literally, I looked over and I went, oh, what is that? Because it was so fantastic. And Peace on Earth, is that what the one she was stitching said, I
Heaven
think?
and Nature Sing was
Heaven- okay.
the
I get the order of them confused. I'm sorry.
well, they were at the same time, actually. I think you ended up with both, is because Heaven and Nature Sing was what she was stitching, but the same show, um, I think you were sort of going, well, because I said I'll paint whatever you want on them, because I was selling them blanks, and I'll paint whatever you want. And I think you said, we'll definitely do the Heaven and Nature Sing, and maybe you also said I want Peace on Earth as well, because I think they came out the same time in force.
Yes.
So
Well,
they
and
ended up both.
they're fantastic. So those of you that are listening on the audio, I do have the botanical stockings hanging behind me, and Laura has a fantastic color sense. And you're detailing in the pine cones and the poinsettias and the leaves. It's just gorgeous. And to accomplish all of that on 13 mesh with only 13 threads per inch to choose from, is takes a special talent. So they are absolutely fantastic. So yeah, we have loved them. I mean, everyone loves a holiday pillow, and when it's on 13 count, you can actually get it done in your lifetime. So
Yes.
that's really fun. And your mom's stitch guide is available for purchase. Do you call it your mom's stitch guide, or is it your stitch guide, or is it kind of a blending of you both?
I'm pretty sure I wrote Stitch Guide by Jill Hoffman on it, so I think I call it hers.
Okay.
Maybe I wrote Jill and Laura Hoffman, I don't know, but it's mostly hers. The pine cones are me. I told her how to do the pine cones, but everything else she did.
Fantastic. Well, it is absolutely gorgeous. So I thought I'd made some notes about different segments of your line. So I know you've got the botanicals and other large pillows, because some of them have like sunflowers and things in them, which are still botanicals, but they're not quite as classic, I guess. And your cookies, you have a whole set of seed packets.
Yes.
Yes. And I think you and I have talked about this before, but you are a pretty avid gardener.
Yes, I enjoy gardening, yeah.
Well, and you're lucky in London that you have the space for that, because isn't that somewhat unusual?
Yeah, it can be. So we're fairly North London. So you end up a little bit, and we're still in London. And it's not hard to get down central. We're actually quite well connected, but it's on the map, kind of high up. But because of that, we were able to find a space with a garden. But yeah, if we were more central, there's no way we could have a garden as well.
And are you more of like a vegetable garden because you're trying to eat organically, or is it a floral garden, a little bit of both?
It's a little bit of both. It's the vegetables we pick are sort of what can we throw in the garden this year and see what will grow. So every year it's been different, with the exception of pumpkins. Those have shown up every year because I'm obsessed with pumpkins. But everything else is a random, like, why don't we try this? So we tried carrots this year and it's not going very well, but we tried.
Well, and I find it interesting that you say you're obsessed with pumpkins, because I don't think you have a pumpkin in your line, do you?
I know. I don't. I have no pumpkins. It's a hard one. I feel like there are so many pumpkin canvases out,
There
and
are.
it's really hard to think of, is there something unique or that I want to do with it, when in reality I just want to stitch everyone else's pumpkins. So I haven't touched pumpkins yet because I haven't felt inspired fully by it.
That makes sense. And I think that has to be one of the hardest things for designers, is to come up with something that nobody else has done, or at least it's a very different twist on what maybe somebody else has done. And that's got to
Yeah.
be really, really tricky. Speaking of which, where do you get your inspiration?
Who knows, sometimes. Everything's a little bit different. So the cookies are all cookies that my family made growing up. So they're all based on things that we would draw out on the cookies themselves. And the original inspiration for doing cookies was because I wanted something I made an apron row for my mother. So I stitched this really long canvas that I then stuck to an apron and gave that to her. And she's washed it.
Heart attack. How did it turn out?
Exactly. It's been fine. She apparently threw a whole bunch of Scotch-Guard on it and very carefully, I don't know, she's washed it. So it can be done.
I'm not sure I'd recommend it, but it has happened.
Yes, exactly. But so the cookie rows were kind of from that. The seed packets were during COVID, where I was living, had some of the worst wall art ever, but it was framed wine labels, and they were 4x6, so postcard sized. And really loved gardening, and I just went, I'm gonna put seed flower packet things in all of these spots, which I've never done. Because the house is my partner's parents' house. And so it's still there. I know that these frames are still there needing flower packets. I've just never done it. But that was kind of where that came from. It was like, well, we love flowers and I need to fill this space. So that's what size they're going to be. And so everything just kind of comes from random how I'm feeling today, I guess.
And you have a newer part of your line that did you tell me they were Korean tiles? Is that what you told me?
Yes. So those ones are kind of the Korean, I'm going to butcher it here. I believe it's called dancheong, which is the temple paint style that you'll see in Korean, a lot of Korean temples. And that one came up because we are talking about maybe doing a trip to Japan next year. And I've always wanted to do that and thought maybe we could also like pop over to Korea. And so I was kind of Googling on, ooh, those are pretty. And, then, got on a tangent and stopped the travel look and turned more into needlepoint at that point.
That's so funny. I wondered if you'd actually been there and that was the inspiration, but it's on the TBD, right?
Yes. I've been to China, but not Japan or Korea. So
okay, well, you're one step ahead of me. I've not touched the Asian continent, unfortunately. So someday. So yeah. And so let's talk about a little bit in your line. And some designers have a hard time with this, but I always find this interesting. What do you think your best-selling canvas is? What's your maybe not very well-selling canvas? And do you have a personal favorite?
okay. Best-selling is the white botanical round that says joy. For some reason, joy is by far the best of them. All four of those series go really well, but joy overwhelmingly is the favorite. So that's the white kind of botanical with the gold lettering. So that one is by far the best selling canvas. The least one would be the Easter garland I have. So the spring garland and the Easter garland have the same style, but just different words. And spring goes pretty well. Easter, it's terrible. So
interesting. Well, I guess people figure spring, they can put it out for 3 or 4 months. Easter, they probably figure they've got like 3 weeks, and that's a lot of work for 3 weeks, maybe.
well, yes, and yet I guess. But so when I thought that, it then confuses me because it's like Halloween is the same, it's one day, and yet we love Halloween. So I don't know. But yeah, so Easter, not a great one. That's all right. And favorite?
I know, it's like picking your favorite child. I'm sorry.
I think it's probably the safari garland and the safari rounds that came from that. I've stitched it twice now, and it's just really fun to do, and I think it's really cute. And
so cute.
Probably that.
So for those of you that haven't seen it before, you can of course pop over to Laura's website and check it out. I should have asked you which ones you were going to pick so I could show them, because I have more of your pieces in my building than you do in your building, you were saying to me earlier. You know what? I'm going to pause us for 1 second and I'm going to grab them. That's what I'm going to do. Hold on. Okay, I couldn't help but grab them because I could see what you were talking about. And of course, I think some people listening might not be aware of your fabulous design. So we'll do a little show and tell. So the botanicals that are behind me, there's these similar rounds. And as predictive, I believe we have love, hope, and peace in the 4-inch rounds, and Joy is sold here. But there is what we're talking about. So it's a 4-inch round on 18 mesh, and with these gorgeous holly leaves and pine ferns and eucalyptus leaves, and then the gold lettering in the middle. And they're just absolutely beautiful. So you said Joy is the bestseller, is that right? And then also in the series is the Peace and the Hope and the Love. And then these also come, and I think the first version of them had the red background. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah. So this came out, I think, the show after, as I recall. And they are absolutely beautiful. So that was what Laura referred to as her best seller. And then here's this poor old sad worst seller, which, you know, sometimes we've had this happen before where people are like, what do you mean that's the worst seller? And suddenly you sell a bunch of them. So you never know. It might happen. So I'm sorry, I'm pulling this out of the packaging that your mother has so lovingly done. So this is the spring version. So it is a bunting, and there's spring is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So does Easter. I had to do that math really fast.
Yes.
And there's an available stitch guide. But the backgrounds are striped, and they're of course in like kind of springy pastel colors, and there's flowers on it, and it's really cute. So that's a spring version, and the Easter version's the same. But oh my gosh, my headphones keep popping out. Sorry. So here is the E, and so you have different stitches and all the stripes in the background, I believe. And did you do a little ribbon work on the florals?
Yes, love ribbon work.
Really pretty. So here is the whole set. So here's the A with the striped background, the letter A, and some ribbon flower intended on the front. S. So poor old Easter gets left to just wait his or her turn. So they are really, really, really sweet. And then last but not least, you said this was your favorite. And there are 2 versions of this. So this is sorry, I wasn't planning on doing this, but I just couldn't help myself. This is the Safari bunting. Look how cute. So for those of you that are listening, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 animals. No letters on these, right? They're just the cute little animals, and they're kind of like the baby version of an adult animal.
Yes. Yeah, they're definitely baby versions.
And like very fun, very whimsical. And so on the garland, of course, they're shaped like a banner. And so there's also, I believe they're 4-inch rounds. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, the 4-inch rounds.
All of these little darling faces. So this is the hippo, and he's peeking out through the monstera leaves. But he's also available in a 4-inch round. And the giraffe, again, peeking out from the leaves. And the baby elephant. Oh my gosh. As I said earlier, have not been to Asia. I did have the very, very good fortune of going on safari when I was in my 20s. And there is nothing better than seeing a baby elephant. Oh my gosh. And this little baby elephant is just so cute. And the lion and the zebra, again, these are all, these are the banners, but they also come in the 4-inch rounds. And this is the zebra's popping out from amongst the leaves, and that little monkey. So I could see how stitching this would just bring you so much joy.
Yeah, they were really fun to stitch.
Really, really fun. I haven't had the safari one in the building until your trunk show arrived, but we typically have the 4-inch rounds because I think they're really cute baby gifts. But you know, the funny thing is when somebody younger starts stitching, they don't need big holes like someone my age does, because they have no problem seeing. So the 4-inch rounds actually work out really great, because let's just go back to this hippo, there's a decent amount of solid color space, and there's not a ton of colors. He probably has 1, 2, like basically 4 or 5 colors with a little bit of black. So it's a nice beginner project, especially for a child who's not 5 years old. You know, the child who's like 10 or 11, like they're very appealing, and they're very doable, I think, for that age. And if anyone wants to stitch me a safari memento from when I was 24, I wouldn't be sad about it. So they are darling. And do you have anything else coming up the pike that you're want to share? Are you doing the
Yes,
virtual Needlepoint show this weekend?
I'm not. So I did not have my act in gear in
Oh.
terms of creating the new canvases
Well,
for
it's
things. So
hard because if you do virtual and you do in person, that's 4 shows a year. That's a lot.
yeah, it's a lot, and honestly, all the new designs that I have, I cranked them out kind of in May. So
Okay.
they all happened in about 2.5 weeks, and I'm very proud that I have anything at this point because I just was not feeling inspired earlier this year.
Right.
So that I have anything coming is good, but um, there are some new sizes or shapes of existing things. So I mentioned the floral, the little square inserts coming in a few different sizes. There's another botanical round coming, a different word, that I think will go really well. What else is there? 2 different garlands that are, again, I keep going with garlands. I like them. This one is for more, I guess, more little girls. So unicorns and sparkles and
Oh,
things
cute.
like that. So I had a lot of fun with that. And those ones will also have rounds too. So again, if people don't like garlands, there's the other option.
Well, I think everyone likes the garlands. It's a big undertaking. The 4-inch round is like, oh, well, I could just do one. And then you're like,
Yeah,
well, maybe I'll do the second one. And before you know it, maybe you've stitched them all, but the garland's a commitment. So I can see why people are a little gun shy.
yeah, they're a commitment, but they also, I don't know, I find them a bit easier than like a pillow because they're not huge in that sense. You've got little individual canvases and you finish one and you move on to the next. So from that side, I like them
For
because
sure.
sometimes, like the stockings that you've got to get like scroller frames and
Yes, these
a
are
lot of
much more mobile and travel friendly for sure.
definitely. So I like the garlands, but again, they're not everyone's cup of tea for those things. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else super exciting. There's nothing big. So this time is a lot more small things. So a lot kind of inserts and rounds in this set versus big things because I've done a lot of big things lately. So taking a break.
Well, that's exciting. So that'll be Frisco in September.
Correct.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, I look forward to seeing you there. I look forward to seeing your mom. She's so darling. And as I've mentioned on the podcast before, like market is such a people come and it's very, of course, business oriented, but so many of us are fortunate enough to be in business or have employed, whatever the case may be, another generation. My daughter, she's in grad school, so she comes and helps me out. And, sometimes honestly, she's just bringing me a Diet Coke to floor 4 because I'm about to pass out, but she's also helping like get everything checked in. So when we come back, we can roll it out really quickly. And I know your mom's a huge part of helping you, and it's really fun because we meet so many other generations of some of the people in the industry. So it's really fun.
Definitely.
Really
No, I
fun.
love this as well. We love
Good.
it.
And is there anything else we haven't talked about that we should have? I want to leave out anything
Um,
exciting.
well, the only thing I have to issue a correction, I guess. So we
Oh,
did, on the Wow Wednesday, I got told off. So when you asked, does your mum do any of the stitching? And I was thinking of garlands in that moment. So, mum's only stitched 1 or 2 of the garlands.
uh-oh.
No, mum's done so much stitching for me. So at market, I bring pillows and cookies, and there's so many stitched samples of things, seed packets, and all of those. She's done all of that. I
Uh-oh.
don't
So
think
was she listening to us and were you in the doghouse?
a little bit. So
Well,
there's
I also said she was stitching that botanical pillow that caught my interest. And
this is true.
yeah, so she got a little credit. So sorry, Jill, if we misrepresented anything. It was not intentional.
Yeah, no, she does so much, so I can't appreciate her enough for that.
Oh, very nice. Well, I am sure being in business with her daughter is a dream come true for her. Speaking from myself, like nothing would make me happier if one of my kids wanted to come into business with me. But I don't think that's going to happen. But a girl can dream.
Maybe someday they'll go out, do their own thing, and come back.
Yes, yes. Well, this has been so fun talking to you. I so appreciated learning more about you, and I look forward to seeing you in September. That will be fantastic. And if anyone is watching us and has not subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. That helps other listeners find us. And we all of us stitchers want more people to be stitching, and if we appreciate that support, and hopefully a new stitcher will be born every day. That's my dream. Well, thank you again, Laura, and we will look forward to seeing you in a few months.
All right, see you then.
Bye.
Bye.